Hello, everyone out there in Sammy Land. Welcome to Sammy Rabbit's Childhood Money Memories, where we talk to parents and kids about great money habits. We ask all of our special guests to share one of their first or favorite childhood money memories. It may be a good one, like maybe they saved pennies in a savings jar, or maybe it's a bad one. Maybe they spent too much money on junk food. That's what we're going to discover and learn with today's special guest, Cameron Huddleston. Everybody wave and cheer and give a big hello to Cameron for us. Give her a big circle round of applause. Welcome, Cameron.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, let me share a little bit about Cameron. First and foremost, she's a mom of three. She's also a writer and an author. She writes about money and she's written a book. Let me get the title correct, called Mom and Dad, We Need to Talk: How to Have Essential Conversations with Your Parents about their personal finances. Kids, that's money, personal finances. She's an award winning writer. That means she's good, kids. She's good. All right. And maybe you could just, I know you spent a lot of time doing care giving of your parents, which is part of, I think, your inspiration for your book. Cameron, would you like to just share a little bit more about yourself before I ask you our most important question?
Sure. So, like you said, I am the mom of three kids. They are ages 17, 15, and 10, two girls and a boy. And you are right. I was a caregiver for 12 years for my mom who had Alzheimer's disease. And that's what prompted me to write my book about talking to parents about their finances. I don't want people to wait for an emergency to have these conversations.
Wow, that's great. In other words, be prepared. Is that right,
Be
Cameron?
prepared.
Be prepared. That's the Boy Scout and Girl Scout motto. And I don't think it's by accident. Be prepared.
Yes, I'm all about being prepared and planning.
Okay, you hear that, kids? I hope you have your listening ears on. Parents, too. All right, Cameron, this is about childhood money memories. Would you please share with Sammy Rabbit and all of his friends out there in Sammy Land one of your first or favorite childhood money memories?
Sure. So when I was in elementary school, this was in the late 1970s, I used to get $1 a week for allowance, a whopping $1. And when I was that age, I was obsessed with model horses. I wanted a real horse of my own, but my parents were not going to let that happen. And so I collected these horses and I would save up my dollar a week to go to the toy store. I still remember it was KB Toy Store. It was in the mall, and I would scope out the horse that I wanted and I would save up for 8 weeks to buy my $8 horse. And when you're little, I mean, 8 weeks seems like an eternity. And I would go and I would pay with my own money, and I amassed quite a collection of these horses. In fact, look at this. I still I still have these. Like my mom hung on to them. She must have known how important they were to me because she hung on to them, and I have most of these horses still.
Oh, man, that is so awesome. Congratulations, Cameron. Let me ask you, would you agree with this? That making a habit, something we do over and over again and again, of saving money helps us get what we want and even what we need.
Yes, it certainly does. And this is a lesson I'm trying to teach my kids. But I'm going to point this out. And I hate to throw my parents under the bus here, but
Throw them under the bus, Cameron.
here goes. So I would save up money to buy these things that I wanted, but I was never taught the very important lesson of saving for the future. Like even as I got older, even once I was in
Oh,
high school, even once I was in college, my parents never sat me down and said, you need to be saving money for the future. And the sooner you start saving, the easier it is to have enough money that you are going to need. And so that was a mistake. That was a lesson I had to learn on my own once I became an adult. And it took me several years as an adult before I learned that lesson. And so this is something I am trying to teach my own kids. It's good to, yeah, sure, save your money to buy things you want, but also set aside money that not for just things you want, but things you're going to need in the future.
That's a great, a Sammy-rific tip. Thank you so much, Cameron. Oh, bad, naughty parents, naughty parents. But you know what? Life isn't perfect. I'm sure your parents, like most parents, were trying to do the best they could. Tell us a little bit about if you're talking to your kids about money, and maybe we're all trying to learn from each other what's working for you, and if there's something that isn't working, that's challenging you or that you're concerned about, maybe share one of those things as well.
Sure. So, because I write about money and because my husband is actually an economist, he teaches economics at a university. My kids have been told about money from a very young age, really from the time they could start talking. So, they've been getting all those lessons thrown at them. And what the biggest challenge I have found as a parent is how different my children are from one another. We are teaching them the same lessons, but how
Mm.
they take in those lessons and which ones they choose to listen to and which ones they ignore really varies from kid to kid. My oldest is a natural saver. She's a natural tightwad. She hates to part with her money. My middle child is kind of in the middle. She does like to spend, but she is cost conscious. And my youngest, oh my gosh, he is just constantly asking for things and doesn't seem to have a concept, despite the fact that we tell him that we are not an endless supply of money, that he can't have everything that he wants. And so that is the biggest challenge is you think you get it right, and then the next kid comes along and all those lessons that seem to work with the first kid don't necessarily work with the next kid, and you have to find a new approach.
Wow, that's great advice for parents, for trainers, for teachers. The same approach may not work the same or have the same effect on different kids, even within the same family as you're sharing. Or maybe I like to believe maybe those lessons are having an impact, but it just isn't obvious at this moment. I know a lot of things my parents shared with me repeatedly. They were up there in my head, and at certain points, maybe when I was 18 or 45, it kind of at that point took hold, and then maybe something positive happened. I know something my dad used to tell me when I was 5 or 6 years old. He's now passed, but it still runs around in my mind. And he always used to say, "Sam, you could have anything you want if you're willing to work for it." And I found that to be a very actually powerful psychology. All right, let's move on. Here's a question I like to ask everyone, Cameron. It's the question I asked myself before I created Sammy Rabbit, and jumped into or hopped into this mission of trying to help kids and families make better personal finance and money choices. And the question is this: if you could only teach a child one money habit, what would it be?
Here's the lesson that I want to instill in my children, and I would like all children to learn this really. Be grateful for what you have. It is
Mm.
so easy to fall into the trap of trying to keep up with the Joneses, or maybe when you're a little kid, that's keeping up with, what Johnny has and what, Maddie has. You see what the other kids have and you want it. And when you are always wanting what others have, you are never satisfied with what you have. And I tell this to my kids all the time that there will always be kids who have more, but there are also going to be kids who have less. You need to be grateful for what you have because you do have a lot and you are very fortunate.
Wow, that sounds like really great advice to me. I have to ask the listeners, should we award Cameron the Sammy Gold Carrot for that great tip? Two thumbs up. Okay, let's do it. And a big circle round of applause. That is just wonderful advice, Cameron. And by the way, who is this kid, Maddie? He sounds like he could be a character in a Sammy Rabbit story. I like that name, Maddie. You don't hear it
Maddie,
every day.
it's
Is it
it's
a
the
he or
little
she?
girl. My
It's a
it's
little
the
girl.
little girl that my son had a crush on.
Oh, oh,
That's
oh,
why the
okay.
name popped up in my head.
Oh my goodness, you just reminded me of a story. I had a girlfriend in kindergarten. I took a lot of heat for that, a lot of tease. Kids. but we used to walk to our local grocery store or mom and pop store every day after kindergarten. I never had any money, but one day we walked by and she said, "Sam, do you want a sucker?" And then I shared with her, "I don't have any money." And she took off her shoe, and in her sock she had a nickel and bought us each a sucker. So
Oh.
saving even in your sock pays off. Although I don't recommend saving in your sock, but maybe that's what they mean by socking it away. She was doing that. That was in the 60s. So you were in the 70s, I was in the 60s. A dollar went, a lot further then. All right.
Mhm.
Something a lot of people talk about is the lack of what people call financial education or financial literacy. Kids, that's teaching about money in schools. Do you have any thoughts on whether or not personal finance classes should be in schools?
Yes, I think that schools should be teaching personal finance starting in elementary school. And the reason I say that they should start at such a young age is because when kids are little, they are such sponges. They soak up everything and they're so much more engaged at that age. I was in my son's fourth grade class recently and I had volunteered for junior achievement to teach.
Mm.
I did JA in a day. I spent a whole day with his class teaching the kids about business and entrepreneurship. And these kids were so excited about everything I was teaching them. And so if you can get to them when they're young and start telling them about the benefit of saving, the benefit of setting money aside for the future, helping them learn how to compare prices, everything that's going to help you out as an adult. The sooner we start kids learning about this, the better off they're going to be. And it should continue through middle school. It should definitely be part of high school because I can't tell you how many people, adults I've talked to, who say, well, wow, I've never had to, figure out, how to figure out what the area of a triangle is, but I sure would have loved to have learned how to create a budget or to, fill out an IRS tax form, things that you need in real life, but it's not taught in school. And so I think every school across the nation should include personal finance in their curriculums.
To your point about kids, they're really smart. They're sponges. What I share with parents is whether you're consciously teaching kids about money or not, they're learning about it. So the real question you have to decide is do you want to take charge of that education or not? And then be aware that maybe your school has some classes on money, but many don't. So if you want them to have your values, like the value you shared earlier, like be grateful for what you do have, that's something you're going to need to talk to them about and make sure that they get it. All right, we're coming to the end. Cameron, I don't know, is there maybe one thing you'd like to share with the parents and the kids out there in Sammyland?
Well, I agree with what you just said. Yes, it would be wonderful for schools to be teaching kids, but I do believe the parents need to be teaching kids too, sharing their values because money is not taught in schools. And right now, for the most part, it's up to parents to be teaching their kids. And parents should not be afraid or embarrassed to talk about money. If you're not going to teach your kids this, who will? And you're not setting them up to be successful financially responsible adults if you're not teaching these lessons to your children from an early age.
Now, I know there's a lot of parents who are going to want to stay in touch and learn more about you, Cameron. How can they do that?
So the best way is to go to my website, which is CameronHuddleston.com. There are links there to reach out to me if you want to. You can follow me on social media. Links are there on the website also.
I want to strongly encourage parents to do that. That's it for today's program. We hope everybody had as much fun as I did learning with Cameron. That's what this program is all about. Let's give Cameron one more big thank you and round of applause, maybe even a circle round of applause. Oh, and by the way, tell me if this is true, Cameron. I think I read this about you. You had mentioned your kid's school. You're a PTA mom or a PTO mom. Is that right?
I was for several years with my two oldest daughters. I was super involved in my with my third one. I have I'm letting the younger moms take charge now. I did my
Uh,
duty and now I've moved on.
All right. For Sammy Rabbit and myself, we want to wish everybody a Sammy-rific day. Goodbye, everybody.